Hey, there we go. Maybe I just didn't press it all the way over. Oh. How are you doing today? 298-765-4321. Thank you, Piola. Right now on the National Weather Desk, dangerous heat moves into the Northeast as our summer of brutal temperatures doesn't let up, even taking a toll on Texas roads.
Joints like this one are more likely to buckle in a heat wave.
Wildfire season. As fire rages in many states, places that have not seen flames yet are getting ready.
Our wildfire risk is just increasing over time.
Monsoon season arrives late in Utah. The rain is good. The accompanied lightning is not.
With monsoons bringing lightning, which can easily start fires.
Plus a look at how climate change is impacting farmers from too little rain to too much.
Unfortunately, climate change seems to be real, and there's not much you can do about it.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. The heat is once again the big weather story. We are tracking excessive heat warnings stretching from the northeast to the southwest. Meteorologist Brian Vandergraff is here with all the hot details.
Yeah, it's been a lot of the southwest as of late, Angela, right? But now it expands. We're not just talking about it southwest where they have excessive heat warnings. They have those as well through the upper Midwest, and that heat advisories extend all the way into the northeast. What are we talking about? Well, Phoenix, once again, they are boiling. 115 feels like temperatures today. Vegas 113, 106 in El Paso. But let's talk Kansas City. Let's talk Oklahoma City. Triple digit feels like temperatures this afternoon. Indianapolis 103. New York feels like 103. Even Boston pushing the triple digits. This heat will be with us for a few more days, at least on the eastern half of the United States. Some relief, though, does look to arrive by the latter half of the upcoming weekend.
All right, thanks, Brian. In many parts of the country, this has been the hottest July on record. Meteorologist Ryan Mirando looks at the numbers.
Even with 5 days left of July, it has been very record-breaking with all of the warmth that we've gotten through the south. Each red dot here on the map shows the record warmest July so far to date. Almost all of Florida right now is having their warmest July. Areas of the Gulf Coast, in Louisiana and Texas, and especially through areas in New Mexico and Arizona. They've been having highs in triple digits basically the entire month.
And when temperatures soar over 100 degrees, asphalt can be as hot as 160 degrees. It takes a toll on maintenance crews and the roads they work on. Betty Cross found out what officials in Texas are doing to keep workers and also drivers safe.
There you go.
John Rodriguez is no stranger to the Texas heat. But this is his first summer working for TxDOT and getting baked by the roiling sun.
It's hot. That sun just reflects off the pavement.
John is installing a Know Your Speed sign in South Austin.
We drink lots of water day before, day of. We got the trucks running, AC blowing. We take breaks when we can, and we watch each other.
It all helps, but metal pipes and asphalt can be too hot to touch, even with thick work gloves.
You can even feel the heat coming through the gloves, and they're leather gloves. So, yeah, that was a little bit unexpected.
It isn't just workers who suffer in this extreme heat. There's also more wear and tear on roads. Joints like this one are more likely to buckle in a heat wave.
But so far this summer, TxDOT hasn't had to fix any hazardous bumps in the Austin area. Instead, the heat-related problem drivers are already seeing and feeling are ruts in the road.
If you're driving down the road, you'll see what might look like grooves or tire areas, a little dip, and that's caused by the rutting with the vehicles in this extreme heat.
Whatever the problem, maintenance techs like John will be the ones to fix it. Their shifts were already pushed back an hour or two to make the roadside work more bearable.
And we've talked a lot about urban heat islands on this show. That's when temperatures in urban areas are hotter than rural regions. Factors like dark pavement, more buildings, and fewer trees play a role. Now, the group Climate Central is tracking the U.S. cities with the most people living in heat islands. I want you to take a look at this list right here. New York, Houston, Los Angeles, Dallas, and Chicago all have at least 2 million people living in areas where temperatures are 8 degrees or higher than rural areas. And all an estimated 41 million Americans are living with higher temperatures because of where they live. And if you live in western Michigan, you may be dealing with the fallout from severe storms on Wednesday. Heavy rain trapped cars in high water, and some roads were forced to close. Powerful winds took down trees and also power lines, knocking out power to a few thousand customers. The National Weather Service says between 2.5 and 3 inches of rain fell in a matter of hours. There are no reports of serious injuries. Excuse me. And right now, more than 80 million Americans are under threat for severe weather today. People living along the I-95 corridor from Washington to Maine need to pay close attention to weather alerts this afternoon. This is also a risk for Wisconsin and also Iowa. And the risk for wildfires is also still high. It's peak wildfire season in the Pacific Northwest. 12 counties in Washington state are also in a drought, including 3 in the Seattle area, prompting many agencies to get ready. Here's Karina Vargas with steps people are taking to prepare.
Smoke could be seen for months across Snohomish County when the Bold Creek fire burned over 14,000 acres during the summer of 2022. Devin Wetzel, co-owner of the Sandbar Tavern, dealt with all of the smoke and closures, something he said he never wants to experience again, and warns that the dry conditions could be a recipe for disaster.
Don't come out into the mountains and start a campfire, because it's just not the right thing to do right now.
The Snohomish County Department of Emergency Management is preparing for what's to come this wildfire season. Officials said the Bold Creek fire opened their eyes to the importance of having a plan.
We are in a wildfire zone. Our wildfire risk is just increasing over time, and so we do need to take steps to prepare.
Preparations are happening in several areas like King and Pierce County. County officials said education is the key when preparing for these wildfires.
We'll be doing some rollout of our Ready, Set, Go campaign, which is really focused on evacuations so that people know when it's time to evacuate, what they're supposed to do.
Fire officials said they expect this fire season to only get worse, and you need to be prepared by knowing evacuation routes and having an emergency kit ready at all times with things like water, clothes, and non-perishable foods. Wetzel tells me he made sure his business had propane fire pits instead of wood to prevent any kind of spark from happening. He's trying to tell that to every person that comes through his business.
We have people who come here every day and ask us if we know where there's a spot to build campfires, a spot to buy firewood. But I've been telling people that there is a drought going on and that campfires in our area aren't permitted.
Wildfires in Greece are still spreading. Several more broke out on the mainland yesterday, killing at least 2 people. New evacuations were ordered for the island of Rhodes and Corfu as temperatures once again top 104 degrees. In Utah, the delayed monsoon season has arrived. The wet weather is a welcome sight in the region, but officials are warning that even monsoon season brings the risk of wildfires. Lincoln Graves is in Salt Lake City with more.
Take a look at the National Climate Prediction Center's outlooks for the next 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 days. 2 maps showing above normal precipitation over much of Utah.
By the end of this weekend, the monsoonal moisture, the true monsoonal moisture, which usually gets there in late June, will be arriving into southern Utah.
Basil Numerzitsky of Great Basin Predictive Services told us earlier this year monsoon season would be delayed. It's now returning with implications for wildfire season.
When we see the monsoons come in, it's that little bit of wetting rain that really helps the dryness. So we'll get a little bit more moisture content back into the fuels.
Kaylee Guild with the State Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands says it's a double-edged sword, too, with monsoons bringing lightning, which can easily start fires. It's a risk everyone acknowledges. Forecasters are also unsure how long monsoon season will stick around. For now, we're only expecting about 4 to 7 days of it.
So right now, we're not seeing sort of an extended run of monsoonal moisture. At this point, it just seems to be shortened.
A little bit shortened, but the models are notorious for flip-flopping 7 to 10 days out.
Meaning we just don't know if the latter half of August will be stormy or dry.
The only thing we know for certain is the monsoonal moisture with moderate to locally heavy rains should arrive late this weekend and continue for at least much of the following work week.
State fire officials say we are doing pretty well this fire season compared to last year. At this time last year, we had seen 616 wildfires in Utah. This year, we're at 389, and there was also a big reduction in human-caused wildfires. Last year at this time, it was at 348. This year, it's at 188.
And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how crops across the country are being impacted by both flooding and also drought. Plus, we'll speak with an expert about the best ways to protect your skin from the summer sun.
Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. The primary threat today will be strong to severe thunderstorms in the Northeast. We're tracking some of these rolling through. This is about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Damaging wind is the primary threat. There may be some hail, maybe even some flooding, and an isolated tornado can't be ruled out in this line right here. And that will be late in the day as it makes its way offshore. Now, Friday's going to be a hot day. We have a much less of a risk for any showers or thunderstorms. Look for a lot of sun with highs in the 80s and 90s.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Up and down the 95 corridor, it's going to be mild and muggy to start. Temperatures in the 70s by lunchtime, blazing sun. But look at what happens into the afternoon. Could have some strong storms. The strongest ones probably from northern Virginia through Maryland and portions of the Delmarva, with our next weather maker moving through. Before those get through, though, hot high temperatures at 98 in Baltimore, 97 at Richmond. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. We're seeing a high of 96 degrees in Nashville, 98 Birmingham, Pensacola about 90 degrees, 92 Jacksonville, Tampa 93 degrees. It looks like we'll see plenty of sunshine through parts of the southeast. We're looking at Atlanta and Raleigh, plenty of sun down through parts of Florida. But as the day goes on, it looks like better chances for rain through the afternoon in central and southern Florida. A few spotty showers through Atlanta and the Carolinas.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Every year, farmers lose crops to wildlife, but this year it's Mother Nature that's been hitting them hard, from heavy rains and flooding in the north to heat and drought in the south. Jackie Slater's in New York with a look at what farmers there are dealing with.
Bob Kilmer has been an owner of Twin Rivers Farm for 30 years.
What time does your day typically start? When does it end?
Well, today it started at 3:30. We were at the barn by 4. And typically we're done by 6 o'clock in the evening.
This field here runs right along the Housatonic River in Sheffield, Massachusetts. The stalks you see lying on the ground destroyed earlier this month as heavy rains battered the Berkshires for days.
Stayed in the water for almost 2 weeks. As the rains kept coming, the river couldn't recede. And after being in the water for that long, the corn just was saturated. It couldn't stand it. It just killed it.
But Kilmer, who serves as the Berkshire County representative for the Massachusetts Farm Bureau Federation, considers himself one of the lucky ones. This time he only lost about 10 acres of corn. Some farmers across the state are reporting losses upwards of 60, 70, and 80% of their crops. Kilmer says he has flood insurance, but that only kicks in if he loses more than 40% of his crop. He says recent floods shouldn't raise prices for consumers, but farmers are concerned more frequent storms will cause serious problems for their bottom lines.
Unfortunately, climate change seems to be real. The windows to harvest seem to be shorter. The weather seems to be more radical these days. And there's not much you can do about it.
And in places like San Antonio, Texas, farmers are dealing with the opposite situation. The intense heat and lack of rain has been bad news. Amanda Henderson spoke to farmers to find out what's happening and why it could soon mean a bigger bill for you at the grocery store.
It's another scorcher out at Brownie Farms.
It's just really hot.
Julie Brownie says they've been in a battle with this record-breaking heat and lack of rain to save their crops.
We're seeing smaller than usual vegetables. If we don't have good foliage, or even if we do have a good foliage cover, they can still sunburn and cause rotten spots or bad spots on our peppers.
Brownie says they have a good variety, but the heat dome is impacting some of your favorite foods.
Squashes, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, which we're standing in front of right now, okra.
Economist Ray Perryman says the historic heat is projected to cost Texas nearly $10 billion. Some of that loss is coming from agricultural losses.
It impacts crops, crop yields, those kinds of things, and it could have a drop of about 6% in agricultural output.
That could translate to your pocketbook.
Your grocery bill would only go up maybe 15%. It will certainly be noticeable.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, food prices rose nearly 7% from May of last year to this year. Texas Department of Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller weighs in.
Corn is pretty much done for. Our cotton crop is trying to bloom, but we really didn't get a very good stand. Beef prices are going to go up, but things like wheat and corn, we have a bumper crop.
The Brownies have their fingers crossed for that to translate to them.
When we have the extreme heat and extreme humidity, that hinders the crops from growing like they need to grow. And then that also will lower our production. We have had to go up a little bit on our prices just for the fact of our watering cost.
Asheville, North Carolina is just one of 50 cities where a program is underway to map out different microclimates. The goal is to see how climate change impacts different areas. Taylor Thompson has more.
So we turn it on and blue light means we're good. And then we just clip it carefully.
Greenworks is a volunteer-led environmental organization that's been in Asheville for over 50 years. Their goal, to help people here meet the challenges of a changing climate.
Asheville was chosen as one of 18 cities across the nation to map our heat.
Volunteers hitting the street with heat sensors sticking out of their cars to see which streets are the hottest and where there are disparities. One of those volunteers is Asheville resident Dan Glidden, who's been working with Greenworks for the last few years.
It's only going to get hotter, so anything we can do to help them is important.
Asheville is known for its microclimate, so where the mountains are and what your elevation is and what your how prone you are to landslides and flooding.
She says that can affect how a person will weather the change in climate.
We wanted to sample as many of these different microclimates as possible so that we can create a really robust, sophisticated heat map to really prepare people for what's coming. The changing climate's going to affect everybody, but it's not going to affect everybody the same.
Humans need sunlight. It has several health benefits, but too much sun can also be dangerous. Skin cancer is one of the most common cancers in the U.S. Danny Travis sat down with a doctor from West Palm Beach who has beaten skin cancer twice and is now helping others who are going through the same thing.
Dr. Cohen says the longer your exposure to UV light, the greater your risk of sun damage if you're unprotected. Some immediate damages include sunburns or second-degree burns in some cases, and long-term damages include skin cancer like melanoma, but doesn't usually progress to that stage until years later. Dr. Cohen says she speaks from both a personal and professional experience when she says it's important to take care of your skin if you decide to go outside.
Favorite way, I don't want to say to scare patients, but just to put things in perspective, sun exposure is more carcinogenic than cigarette smoking. So you really wouldn't be out, smoking cigarettes. So why would you expose yourself to the sun for multiple hours?
Dr. Cohen shared some of these tips with us. Wear sunscreen that says broad spectrum, protecting from UVA and UVB. You'll want to put it on 30 minutes before going outside so it fully absorbs into your skin, but also wait 30 to 45 minutes before hopping in the pool or going in the ocean. She also advises avoiding sun exposure between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. That's when rays are the most intense. And don't forget protective clothes and sunglasses for your eyes.
Well, too much sun can also be bad for your pet, and summer is when pet allergies pick up. Veterinarian Devin Smith has a look at some of the ways you can protect your pets from summer allergies.
Pets with allergies are probably one of the most common reasons that owners wind up in our veterinary clinic. While allergies can manifest in a number of ways, some of the most commonly reported clinical signs include itchy paws, itchy skin, especially around the flanks and belly, as well as itchy ears. Now, of course, allergies can happen at any time, but generally, spring through fall tend to be the times when my allergic pets are most uncomfortable. If you're concerned that your pet might have allergies, you should absolutely schedule an appointment with your vet so that they can first rule out any ectoparasites like fleas and confirm that your pet does in fact have allergies. Once a diagnosis has been made, your vet may talk to you about prescription medications like Cytopoint or Apoquel, which help reduce the pruritus or itchiness associated with allergies. In less severe cases, over-the-counter allergy medicines may do the trick, but always talk to your veterinarian before administering any medications to your animal.
And as we head to break, we take in views of the Swiss Alps from above.
Well, a very good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael taking a look at your weather story across the Midwest for the day today. Near triple-digit temperatures or in the low triple digits for a lot of the plains. The Ohio Valley getting into the 90s and pretty much 90s most of the Midwest. A couple of 80s in the Great Lakes. Tomorrow, we got more scattered showers and thunderstorms popping up for us with all that heat building. And a cold front finally moving through on Saturday, dropping some of the temperatures to the north back in the 80s. And how about 76 in Milwaukee on Saturday?
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. We're starting off a little warm today, particularly for the folks in Dallas. Back over toward El Paso into the 80s, a little cooler as you're in Louisiana and Arkansas. We'll be watching a little trough line, the sea breeze again today. Hopefully it'll get active, maybe bring a few little showers right up along the Texas and Louisiana coast. Otherwise, looks like it's going to be another hot summer day across the region. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia, and that's a look at your regional weather.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. We have the excessive heat warnings continuing across the desert Southwest, where we've got record high temperatures continuing, but wind picking up from the temperature difference between the Pacific Northwest and the Southwest is creating some critical fire weather conditions for parts of Northeast California into Oregon. Now, as we go to the stretch of the thunderstorms, most of those will be around the Rockies and around a stationary front to the north. That's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
We show you great weather content here on the show. Our meteorologists post all over social media. Here's a recent TikTok from meteorologist Christina Ernie all about heat.
You've probably seen the headlines everywhere. Hottest summer on record, longest heat wave ever recorded, record hot ocean temperatures, marine life dying because of warm sea surface temperatures. The reality, though, is that we have broken records. The month of April, we reached the hottest sea surface temperature globally, 21.1 degrees Celsius, which equals almost 70 degrees Fahrenheit. This breaks the previous record set back in 2016, and that was also during an El Nino weather pattern that we're currently under. But record warm oceans are actually harming our marine life. Some areas in Florida actually saw ocean temperatures reach over 100 degrees in some of their bays. Ocean temperatures right now are hovering in the 90s when they should be in the 80s at this point. And there's currently a number of bleaching alerts, level 1 and level 2, which means the ocean temperatures are so warm, it's actually killing off coral reefs. They're not able to sustain the thermal stress, plus also marine life is dying around them.
And thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be a hot Friday for many of us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at the surprising risks the heat can pose to your car. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Thursday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.